Part 2. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, De Chuan-Chi. Chapter 11. After cutting the eggs, Yejuju took them out of the pot and put them in 2 bowls. Yejuju took out a fork for Beth and asked her to eat while it was hot. Then he picked up the bowl and ate with chopsticks. Beth took the fork and said thank you happily. Then he couldn't wait to pick up his bowl and eat with big mouthfuls. After finishing the meal, Beth burped with satisfaction, and then said embarrassedly, "I'm so sorry, Uncle. I haven't had such a delicious lunch for a long time, and I can't help but eat a little full." Hearing this, Yejuju waved his hand and said, "It's nothing. I'm also very full, you don't have to be shy." After that, he took out 2 bottles of mineral water from his backpack, unscrewed the cap of one bottle and handed it to Beth, then he took the other bottle and unscrewed the cap and drank it with big mouthfuls. To be honest, Beth had lived in the apocalypse for more than a year, and had not drunk such clean water for a long time. She was reluctant to let go of the mineral water bottle and drank it in big gulps. Although she drank in big gulps, she obviously cherished the water resources very much, and not a drop spilled. On the other hand, Yejuju was much more casual and wasteful. A lot of mineral water flowed out from the corners of his mouth, and flowed from the corners of his mouth and chin into his clothes, from Beth's perspective. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. The sunlight shone on Yejuju's face, facing Beth, and inevitably produced visual deception. At this moment, Beth suddenly found that Yejuju was so majestic and charming, which made her heart beat faster. Speaking of which, Beth was not a girl who didn't understand the relationship between men and women at all. She had a boyfriend long before the disaster broke out. Although there was no time for any actual relationship to happen, kissing, hugging, and caressing were also carried out. At this moment, she realized that she had developed inexplicable emotions towards Yejuju, whom she had only been with for a few hours. She knew that it was love, an inexplicable love. Of course, all this was hidden in Beth's heart, and Yejuju didn't see it. It was also because Yejuju was careless, otherwise he could always see something from Beth's eyes. According to Beth's request, the two stayed here and continued to wait, hoping that Daryl would find this place. Unfortunately, after a desperate run, although Daryl killed the zombies following him, he inevitably couldn't find the way back to the villa. It was destined that he would never find Beth again. Although Daryl was very upset and regretful, he finally continued to move forward with self-blame. At 10 o'clock in the afternoon, Daryl walked to the railway, but fortunately saw the handwriting left by Maggie. Then, Daryl followed and fell behind Maggie, Glenn, and others. When night came, Yejuju took out a tent from his backpack like a magic trick, and gave it to Beth without hesitation, asking her to rest in the tent while he rested by the fire. Beth was very moved. With the help of Yejuju, she set up the tent and lay down in it. But she couldn't really fall asleep. She was not worried about any danger, such as the sudden appearance of zombies. She was not worried that Yejuju would enter the tent and force herself while she was sleeping. Not to mention that Yejuju was guarding outside, even Werewolf could kill all the zombies that attacked while she was sleeping. She was just grateful to Yejuju in her heart, grateful that he saved her, grateful that he took care of her, and couldn't help but like Yejuju in her heart. At this time, Yejuju was not in the mood to observe Beth's reaction. He was taking this opportunity to enter the space with consciousness and seize the time to consume his full energy. Mechanical traps are powerful weapons. Although there are already 5, Yejuju always feels that they are not enough. Without 100 or 80, he dare not offend the large-scale zombie tide. After making several mechanical traps, Yejuju made a mechanical crossbow for Beth after careful consideration. It is also a mechanical crossbow that can fire continuously. The only difference from Yejuju is that this mechanical crossbow can only fire steel ball projectiles. It is not that Yejuju is stingy and does not make a powerful mechanical crossbow for Beth, but he does not believe in Beth's long-range shooting ability. The 150-meter shooting distance of the crossbow is not something that Beth, a girl, can perfectly control. With a mechanical crossbow that can fire 30 steel balls continuously, Yejuju believes that Beth can fully adapt to it within 50 meters. At most, stay here for a few more days to train Beth's shooting ability. Compared with the mechanical crossbow used by Yejuju, this special mechanical crossbow is much lighter and smaller. The total weight is only 6 pounds. With such a light weight, I believe Beth can adapt quickly and will not become a burden to Yejuju when encountering a large number of zombies. Yejuju knows that at the rescue station, not to mention the many zombies, even the leader of the camp, Gray, and his men are not easy to deal with. For more than an hour, Beth couldn't fall asleep at all. When she looked at Yejuju again, she saw Yejuju who had just finished working in the space. Because he was a little tired after sitting for a long time, he stretched his waist in front of the fire. The next moment, Beth blamed herself for being too reserved. What time is it? Why bother about so many gender distinctions? Yejuju, who saved her, was left sitting alone in front of the fire without a rest. What's more, she also secretly liked Yejuju. Even though she had only known him for 10 hours, she couldn't help but like him. Thinking of this, Beth naturally thought of her sister and Glenn. The two sisters had talked about it in private. She also knew that Glenn and her sister had only known each other for a few days and had sex in the pharmacy in the small town. Thinking that Glenn was also Asian, and so was Yejuju, then it was no big deal. If her sister could be with Glenn, an Asian man, she could certainly be with Yejuju, an Asian. Thinking of being together, Beth couldn't help but feel shy and secretly happy, and then she thought of the interesting things about Chinese boys that she talked about with her bestie at school. From Yejuju's care for her, Beth guessed that Yejuju also liked her, otherwise why would he treat her so well? He helped me go back to find Daryl, cooked for me, and let me sleep in the only tent. If he didn't like me, what else could he do? Then this Chinese boy must be like most Chinese boys. Even if he likes a girl, he will not take the initiative to show his love and pursue a girl. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, De Chuanqi. Chapter 12. To sum it up, Chinese boys are generally introverted and shy, but they are particularly good to their girlfriends. Thinking of this, Beth recalled the scene of Yejuju killing the walking corpse. At this moment, Yejuju's figure kept flashing back and magnifying in her mind, until it temporarily occupied her entire brain. Beth ignored it and boldly said to Yejuju, "Uncle, you can sleep in the tent." As soon as Yejuju woke up from the space, he heard Beth's words. He was stunned and asked involuntarily, "As I write this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow." What? What did you say? After saying this, Beth became bolder and continued without waiting for Yejuju to ask further questions. The outside world is very dangerous. If you don't get a good rest, you will encounter danger. I don't want you to have a bad rest because you gave the tent to me. If any danger occurs the next day, you should still enter the tent. Come and sleep here. After all, your tent is spacious enough for 2 people to rest in. Hearing this, Yejuju, who was stunned, finally came to his senses and said in his heart, "This little beauty invites me to sleep in the tent." For such a good thing, why should Yejuju hesitate? So, Yejuju turned back to look at Beth and confirmed, "Are you sure, Beth?" When Beth heard this, even though she was bold, she was depressed by Yejuju's question. She snorted and said, "Humph. Are you going to come in or not? If you don't come in, I will really fall asleep." Hearing this, Yejuju could no longer be reserved. He immediately agreed and said okay, stood up and walked into the tent. Beth naturally heard Yejuju enter the tent, but out of shame, she turned her back to Yejuju, but in her heart she was expecting Yejuju to do something. Yejuju is a person who has a lustful heart but not a boldness. Seeing that Beth's back was turned to him, he lay down on the position Beth gave up, stretched out comfortably, and then closed his eyes and fell asleep. It's a pity that there is a little beauty next to him. Although there is no body fragrance coming out because he hasn't showered for a long time, it always makes his heart as a man involuntarily agitated. In this way, neither of them could sleep for more than 10 minutes, and Beth's restless heart gradually calmed down. Although her heart calmed down, her love for Yejuju became more and more intense, and Beth knew that her guess was right. Chinese boys like Yejuju were just what she thought. Even when they were with girls they liked, they were reserved and would not take the initiative to violate girls. Thinking of this, Beth suddenly said. Seeing Beth turning around to look at him, Yejuju's heartbeat suddenly accelerated, even faster than when he first shot the walking corpse. Seeing Beth's pretty little face so close, Yejuju couldn't help but reached out and touched Beth's face gently, nodded firmly, and said, "As long as you are with me and don't leave my side, I will do my best to protect you and love you." Seeing the firmness and determination in Yejuju's eyes, Beth was very moved. Speaking of which, since the disaster broke out, even with her father Haushel and sister Maggie protecting her, she has never had any reliable sense of security. Even if he later fell in love with a boy who came to prison, or even if he got along with Daryl later, he didn't feel that secure. At this moment, Yejuju gave her a sense of security. At this moment, Beth's heart was moved to the point of confusion. Unable to help herself, Beth moved her body, brought her head up and said, "Then what are you waiting for? Love me." After getting dressed, Yejuju walked out of the tent and continued busy making a fire to cook. After Yejuju left, Beth woke up. When she heard Yejuju's busy voice outside the tent, Beth felt extremely satisfied and loving. When Beth got up and had breakfast, Yejuju took out the mechanical crossbow made for Beth, looked at Beth and said, "Come on, dear. This is the crossbow I prepared for you that can fire steel ball projectiles continuously. I'm here to teach you how to use this big killer weapon against the Walking Dead." Hearing this, Beth also became curious. She knew that Yejuju had a crossbow in his hand, which could also continuously fire steel ball projectiles and crossbow arrows. But if you take a closer look, you can see that it looks similar to the crossbow from yesterday, but is obviously different in size. Curiously, he stepped forward and took the crossbow from Yejuju. Yejuju taught Beth step by step how to change the magazine and how to string the crossbow. In fact, it's very simple, to put it bluntly. Don't think that Beth can't use guns. After more than a year of wandering, she has already learned how to use guns. Although this crossbow is a cold weapon, it is not much different from a rifle. The only difference is that one is driven by gunpowder kinetic energy and the other is mechanically driven. As for the accuracy of shooting, to be honest, Yejuju didn't need to worry about it. After all, Beth's shooting skills were hard to say from a distance, but within 50 meters it was still good. After some familiarity with the operation, Beth selected a target 50 meters away and started practicing shooting with the mechanical crossbow. Yejuju prepared 5 magazines for Beth. After watching her finish shooting one magazine and replace it, he loaded her magazine. Although it is a more powerful projectile, its power is equivalent to that of a pistol under the support of the system. Within 50 meters, if the steel ball hits bricks and stones, it will break the weak bricks, and if it hits a tree, it will be deeply embedded in the tree trunk. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Chuan-Chi. Chapter 13. Beth likes the gift her lover Yejuju gave her very much. This weapon can fire continuously with power that is not inferior to a pistol, and the key is that the sound is extremely small. Beth practiced very hard. Compared with the small size of the pistol, the mechanical crossbow is still quite laborious to use. In order to bring out the power of this weapon, Beth spent 2 days firing steel ball bullets of almost 50 magazines before finally using the mechanical crossbow skillfully. Until then, no one saw Daryl or other survivors in the prison find this place, so Yejuju and Beth had to continue their wandering journey. However, for Beth, it was wandering, but for Yejuju, it was a clear goal. Find the railroad tracks and follow the handwriting left by Maggie to find the rescue station to complete task 2. Google searched can. In 3 days, Yejuju created 9 more mechanical traps. At present, there are 14 mechanical traps stored in the space, which also gave Yejuju the confidence to fight against thousands of zombies alone in the future. After walking for more than an hour, the two finally walked onto the railroad tracks. After walking for another half an hour, they found a message written by Maggie in the blood of zombies. When Beth saw Maggie's message, she immediately shouted with joy. On the farm, she lost her mother and brother, and in the prison base, she lost her father Herschel. Because of the chaos at the time, her sister Maggie didn't know the safety of her sister and Glenn. At this moment, seeing her sister's message and meeting someone she really liked, how could Beth not be happy? With her arms around Yejuju, Beth jumped with joy, and kept cheering. "Oh, dear uncle, did you see it? My sister is still alive, my relatives are still alive. Did you see it?" Hearing this, Yejuju couldn't help but recall that when Beth did that with her, she also shouted uncle at the top of her lungs. Hearing this word at this time, Yejuju suddenly felt a surge of blood in his body, and he almost couldn't control himself and fought with Beth on the spot. But then, Yejuju had to extinguish the dirty thoughts in his heart, because Beth had already shed tears of joy. It must be said that at any time, a man with a healthy mind can't stand his woman crying in front of him, and Yejuju is even more so. Yejuju, who regained his composure, immediately reached out and took the crying Beth into his arms, hugged her tightly and gently patted her back with his hands, and comforted her softly. "Beth, don't cry, isn't it a good thing that your sister is still alive? Why are you crying? Besides, I am your boyfriend now, and I should meet our sister, right?" Hearing this, Beth rubbed in Yejuju's arms for a few times, wiped all the tears from the corners of her eyes on Yejuju's clothes, and then raised her head and looked at Yejuju affectionately and said, "Thank you for your comfort, dear uncle, it's great to meet you." After that, Beth stood on tiptoe, put her lips to the lips of Yejuju, who bowed his head, and gave a tongue kiss. At this moment, Yejuju couldn't bear it anymore. The beautiful woman took the initiative to give a sweet kiss, and Yejuju immediately responded enthusiastically. If this wasn't in the wilderness, Yejuju would have wanted to have another one with Beth right now. It's no wonder that Yejuju is so impulsive. It's because in his 2 lives, not to mention being with women, even holding hands and kissing, there is no other woman except his mother. What's more, she is a cute and beautiful blonde like Beth. The only regret is that Beth is not a tall and strong big foreign horse type, which makes Yejuju a little disappointed. The two of them were affectionate for 10 minutes, until their lips were numb from kissing each other. They reluctantly separated, and finally walked forward along the railroad hand in hand. What the two didn't know was that just 10 minutes before they arrived, Carol and Tyrese, who was still a little girl, Judith, who was only a little over 1 year old, had just passed by here. These 3 were also the last group of teammates from the original prison base to go to the rescue station. Maggie, Glenn, Rick, Carl, Macon, Daryl, Abraham, Eugene, Rosita, Sasha, Tara, and others who were still alive had already gone to the rescue station. If nothing unexpected happens, these people, except Carol and Tyrese, will be imprisoned by Grace, the cannibal leader of the rescue station. The speed of the 2 people is naturally much faster than Carol and the others, but because they delayed some time in the original place, the place where they finally met will be in front of the cabin outside the rescue station. Yejuju and Beth did not worry about danger at all, because Werewolf was on guard and explored the way for them. They even talked while walking to relieve the irritation of the journey. While talking, Yejuju was very eager to complete the third hidden task and get the modification drawings of the mount motorcycle. According to the use of the physical objects that should be manufactured according to the first two drawings, there is a bit of black technology in it. Not to mention the function of the mechanical crossbow firing continuously. Can this be manufactured by modern technology? Maybe in the Marvel universe, Tony may still be able to manufacture it. Although the mechanical trap has not been used yet, Yejuju believes that the power of the mechanical trap will definitely not disappoint him. Then, once the mount motorcycle transformed in the space according to the blueprint is transformed, Yejuju believes that its function is not comparable to any vehicle in this world. There are many bus stops along the way, all of which have Maggie's handwriting, which makes Beth happy like a magpie and talk non-stop. Yejuju is worried that Beth will become hoarse because of talking too much. It took more than 2 days to walk, and Maggie's handwriting has become the words for the prison survivors to gather at the rescue station. Obviously, Maggie has met Glenn and others who caught up with her, so she changed the message. This also further stimulated Beth's idea of hurrying up as soon as possible and reuniting with her family. Yejuju had to let her temper and speed up the pace. Finally, when they were close to the rescue station, the two still caught up with Carol and Tyrese. Beth recognized the two people from a distance. It was because Tyrese's back was so easy to recognize, and Carol's long silver hair was also easy to recognize, so Beth recognized the two people just by seeing their backs. When she saw the two people in front of her, Beth couldn't help but cheer. "Oh, my God! Is it Carol and Tyrese? You are still alive, so great." Hearing the shouts behind them, Carol and Tyrese also turned back in surprise. First, she saw Beth with a happy face, full of energy and ruddy complexion, and then she saw Yejuju who was fully armed, and the mighty and extremely technological metal dog beside Yejuju, Werewolf. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan Chi. Chapter 14. Carol was overjoyed at first, and then became vigilant, but the vigilant eyes disappeared in a flash, replaced by a gentle expression, which made people feel like spring breeze at the first sight. Google search reading. But doesn't the rifle you are holding in your hand not match the appearance of your gentle mother? Card mother? Yejuju vomited in his heart, but he knew that Carol did not trust him, and acting with her was just a way for her to let her enemies relax their vigilance and protect herself. Beth didn't care, and rushed up quickly. She grabbed Carol's neck and gave her a warm hug. She kept telling Carol everything about herself. Seeing two women, big and small, hugging each other and talking, Yejuju and Tercy looked at each other and shrugged each other. Yejuju took the lead in saying hello. "Hi, you're such a big guy. Your name is Talcy, right? I heard Beth talking about you. My name is Yejuju and I'm from China. You can call me Yet." Hearing this, Tyrcy showed an expression that was half a smile but not a smile on her honest black face, nodded to Yejuju and said, "Hello, Yet. My name is Talcy." After saying that, Tercy shut up and lowered her head without speaking. Yejuju naturally knew that the reason why Talcy was like this was that he no longer had any hope in life. Ever since his girlfriend was burned to death in prison, he had been determined to die. If he hadn't remembered his sister Sasha, and Judith on the chest, he would have died outside. After waiting for a long time, I saw Carol holding Beth's hand and walking in front of Yejuju. The expression on Carol's face at this time was truly gentle. "Hello, Yet. I'm Carol, I'm Beth's family. Thank you for saving Beth." Hearing this, Yejuju shrugged again and said, "Hello, Carol. Don't say thank you anymore. I think Beth has told you that she and I are boyfriend and girlfriend, and protecting her is exactly what I should do, isn't it?" Hearing this, Carol smiled again and looked at Yejuju with an expression of appreciation in her eyes. But Beth said happily, "Uncle, Carol, can we chat later? Is there an aid station in front of us? Why don't we get there and see Maggie and Glenn? It's not too late to have a nice chat." Hearing this, Carol and Yejuju looked at each other with helpless expressions, but they both looked at the happy Beth fondly and nodded in agreement. Then, Beth and Carol walked in front, while Yejuju and Talesy fell behind and continued to move forward. Of course, Warwolf has already come to the front to explore the way for Yejuju and the others. While walking, Yejuju glanced at the lifeless Talesy and finally couldn't help but said, "Talesy, you said that if a person survives in this humming apocalypse, wouldn't it be a good thing if he has a relative to care about?" After finishing speaking, without waiting for Talesy's reply, he said to himself, "Each of us has lost a lot in this world, including relatives, friends, and even lovers. But not everything is lost. We still have friends and relatives, and we must live well for them. After all, compared to those who have become zombies, we are lucky, aren't we? Talesy, for the sake of your sister, I think you should live well so that your sister will not live alone." After saying that, Yejuju kept silent. He understood the meaning of exchanging shallow words and deep words. Some words didn't need to be said too much. Once Tails figured it out, it would be fine. What he has to consider now is how to complete Mission 3 and kill the cannibal Leader Grey and his accomplices, Leader Grey, 0/1, and accomplices, 0/61. Completing the mission will reward you with 1000 experience points. Yes, when Beth and Carol met, his task 2, escorting Beth to the rescue station to meet the team, had already been completed and triggered the subsequent task 3. The 500 experience points gained from completing the mission allowed Yejuju's level to be raised one level again, becoming what it is now. Name, Yejuju. Age, 16 years old. Occupation, mechanical hunter. Level, level 5, 200/600. Property. Strength, 5. Physical strength, 5. Intelligence, 7. Spirit, 7. Agility, 7. Speed, 15 meters/second. Energy, 700, 7 points/minute recovery speed. Professional talents and skills. 1 Junior Combat Master. 2 Junior Mechanical Manufacturing Master. Pet, Mechanical Dog Wolf Warrior. Mount, none. Special space, 100 square meters of machinery manufacturing space, 14 mechanical traps. Drawings, none. Note, there are 0 times left for the time travel function. Note, the only mainline Super God level mission, kill Thanos and his henchmen. Successful missions reward 6 cosmic gems. Let's talk about mission 3. In fact, it is not very difficult to complete it. The most dangerous thing is that there are a lot of rifles in their team. Those can shoot at targets hundreds of meters away. Compared with the 150-meter range of Yejuju's mechanical crossbow, it has an inherent advantage. How to kill these dehumanized demons while ensuring his own safety was what Yejuju was thinking about. The words of Yejuju and Talesy were naturally heard by Carol and Beth, who were walking in front. Of the two, Beth was extremely happy, thinking that her lover was very good. After listening to what happened in prison, she saw that Tyrese was not in a good mood, so she comforted him. Carol had a different feeling. After all, she was the one who killed Tyrese's girlfriend, but she really didn't want to see Tyrese become numb like this, and naturally hoped that what Yejuju said would work. At this time, Tyrese's heart was fluctuating. Sometimes he thought of his dead girlfriend, and sometimes he thought of his sister Sasha. The figures of the two kept interweaving in his mind, and finally gathered together. He saw that both of them smiled at him. The werewolf who was exploring the way ahead suddenly stopped and made an attacking gesture, which immediately stopped the four of them. They were all experienced warriors. Except for Tyrese, who was a little indifferent. Yejuju, Carol and Beth all made alert movements. Yejuju came forward and said to Carol and Beth, "Something seems to be wrong. You know, Warwolf has high intelligence and perception. He can sense the danger around him. Let's be careful." After that, Yejuju continued to say to Beth and the others, "I'll go out with Warwolf first. You follow me. I'll go see if there's any danger ahead." After that, Yejuju and Warwolf lowered their footsteps and quietly moved towards the vaguely visible cabin in front. In front of the cabin was the cannibal who was responsible for attracting zombies. He was squatting on the ground, talking to the person on the intercom, and fiddling with some fireworks. Seeing that he was not alert to the surroundings, Yejuju simply asked Warwolf to attack this person, but not to kill him immediately, but to knock him unconscious. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan Chi. Chapter 15. The next moment, Wolf Warrior rushed out and knocked the man unconscious before he could react. Diamond suit, diamond suit. Before knocking him unconscious, he happened to hear him mention the words knife girl, bitch, etc. Yejuju then came out, tied up his hands and feet with ropes, blocked his mouth with rags, and then carried his body into the wooden house. Behind him, seeing Yejuju's response, Carol agreed with him in her heart. Beth didn't care, she just felt that whatever her lover did was right. Tyrese's eyes were a little unhappy. After all, it was a bit too much to treat a stranger like this. After everyone entered the wooden house, when they were about to start interrogating this man, they heard "killed 8 people" from the intercom. After waking up the man, Yejuju squatted in front of him, looked at him and asked in a deep voice, "Are you from the rescue station? Why are you here? Why do you want to kill people?" The man stretched his neck hard and made a woohoo sound, signaling Yejuju to take off the rag blocking his mouth. Yejuju pulled out the rag from his mouth and waited for the man to justify himself. Sure enough, the man immediately explained. "Hello, I am from the rescue station in front. You are here to seek refuge in the rescue station. Let me go, I will take you back immediately." Yejuju naturally knew that this was a delaying tactic. The purpose was to trick them into the rescue station and then deal with them. He curled his lips and said disdainfully, "Tell me, what's the matter with the knife girl? What's the matter with killing 8 people? Hearing this, the man's face froze, and he became hesitant to speak, and he couldn't explain what was going on for a long time. Seeing this, Yejuju turned back to look at Carol and Beth and said, "It seems that this so-called rescue station has a lot of problems. They are not an organization that rescues the living. It is very likely that they are specialized in killing people. For such people, my principle has always been direct, that is, kill him. So as not to continue to harm the living. Kill him." As soon as he said it, Yejuju pulled out the dogleg knife on the side of the big push and cut his neck with a swish. This scene immediately shocked Beth and the other two. Beth did not expect Yejuju to kill so cleanly. In Carol's eyes, there was an indescribable admiration for Yejuju's decisive killing. Tyrese was incredulous. He could never have imagined that Yejuju would be so cruel and kill people without any hesitation. Yejuju looked at the man lying on the ground, and calmly stabbed him in the head, and continued to say, "In the end times, there are not many living people, and it is not easy to live. But these people still talk about killing people as if they were killing pigs. I think these people don't deserve to continue living." After that, he stood up, turned around and looked at Carol and Beth and said, "Beth, I think your sister and Glenn have been controlled by them, but don't worry, I will rescue them. You, Tyrese, Carol and others just need to wait here." Hearing Yejuju's words, Beth immediately became worried. Although she was also worried about the safety of her sister and Helen, she was more worried about Yejuju's safety. Carol admired Yejuju more and more, and saw the worry in Beth's eyes, so she stood up and said, "Yeah, is right, so let's do this. Yeah, and I will rescue everyone together. Beth, you and Tyrese just need to wait here. Remember, as long as they are not our people, kill them and don't hold back. Remember that there is Judith who needs your care." After that, Carol and Yejuju looked at each other and walked out of the wooden house, picked up the fireworks on the ground and walked towards the rescue station in front. At this time, in the slaughterhouse of the rescue station, Rick, Bob, Daryl, Glenn, and 3 others were tied with their hands, kneeling in front of a large iron trough, waiting to be cut and dismembered. Yejuju and Carol had already climbed a small hill outside the rescue station. Looking at the rescue station surrounded by barbed wire below, Yejuju put down the telescope and said, "Carol, this place is indeed abnormal. Since it is a rescue station, there should be a lot of people here. But look, there are only a few dozen people here. So, where did all those people who went to the rescue station go?" Combined with the words on the intercom just now, I guess those people were killed by these people. Or something worse. What do you think? Hearing this, Carol nodded in agreement. Thinking of people as a little worse is her advantage, otherwise she would not have killed Tyrese's girlfriend and another person who were infected with the disease. Then, from the telescope, I saw that many zombies gathered outside the barbed wire one after another, and several women with weapons were killing these zombies behind the barbed wire. Finally, Yejuju saw a place where there were fewer zombies, and decided to enter the rescue station from there and kill those cannibal demons one by one. So, Yejuju pointed at that place and said to Carol, "Well, Carol, you are responsible for meeting us here. I will sneak in, kill those people and rescue Beth's sister and your family." After that, Yejuju and Warwolf slid down the hillside carefully. Carol saw that Yejuju went to rescue alone, and she couldn't help but worry about Yejuju, but she also placed her hopes on Yejuju. Although she had thought of a way to break into the rescue station, her method was extremely dangerous. She didn't want to do it unless it was absolutely necessary. In the telescope, Yejuju and Jean Lang moved very carefully, killing many zombies along the way without alarming too many zombies, and sneaked into the outside of the barbed wire. Without any tools such as wire cutters, Zanlang's tail was bent over, and he just used the sharp tip of the sword at the end of the tail to easily cut the barbed wire, revealing a hole that was large enough for Yejuju and Jean Lang to pass through. Without caring whether leaving a hole would let zombies in, Yejuju and Jean Lang carefully moved towards the rescue station. When they met patrolmen on the road, Yejuju and Jean Lang would cooperate with each other, either attacking from the front and back or attracting the enemy's attention and killing the enemy, and quickly and quietly solved no less than 10 armed personnel. After killing these people, Yejuju was not afraid of exposing his ability, and put all their weapons into the space. Naturally, the first place Yejuju went to was the slaughterhouse. Whether he could rescue Rick and the others in time was another matter. If he could, everyone would be happy. If he couldn't, it didn't matter. Yejuju was not a saint. The mission was just to kill the cannibal demons, but there was no rule that they had to be rescued. He was sneaking around and killing people. What Carol saw through the telescope was. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan Chi. Chapter 16. Yejuju was like an experienced hunter, silently killing the enemy, which made Carol value and admire Yejuju even more. She also thought that such an action, if it were her or someone else in the team, it would never be possible for Yejuju to be as silent as he was. It also gave her a lot of confidence in Yejuju to save everyone. Searched Can on Google. Maybe Yejuju was lucky, and Rick and the other 4 were lucky enough. After the 3 people in front of them had their throats cut and bled, it was Glenn's turn. Yejuju suddenly broke in and saw the man holding a baseball bat. Just when he was about to swing the bat to hit Glenn on the back of the head, Yejuju pointed the mechanical crossbow at his head and pulled the trigger. The next moment, an arrow shot out with a whoosh sound, and penetrated deeply into his head with a pop sound, causing him to immediately fall to the ground on his back. Wolf Warrior was unequivocal and immediately pounced out, his silver metal body reflecting the dazzling light, and he quickly pounced on the man holding the knife. The third man here is the cannibal leader, Grace. Seeing Yejuju break in, he kills without hesitation. Gray reacted quickly and pulled out his pistol and shot Yejuju. Unfortunately, Yejuju's current agility is as high as 7 points, and the distance of tens of meters is enough for him to dodge. Gray was surprised to find that no matter how he shot, he could not hit Yejuju, who was dodging left and right. On the other side, the man holding the knife had been thrown to the ground by Warwolf, and his head was bitten off. At this moment, Gray was immediately afraid. How could he dare to stay here anymore? He immediately fired at Yejuju continuously, but he quickly retreated towards the small door on one side. After the wolf warrior killed the knife-wielding man, when he was about to continue attacking Grace, Gray had already retreated behind the small door and closed the heavy iron door. Warwolf bumped into the iron door, making a dull dooing sound, and was then knocked to the ground by the iron door's repulsive force. Seeing that the wolf was about to hit the iron door, Yejuju stopped its movement, walked behind the four Glens, and asked Glenn while untying the rope. "Who among you is Glenn?" "I am Yejuju, Beth's boyfriend. She asked me to save her family." Yejuju deliberately untied Glenn's rope first. As soon as he untied the rope and heard Yejuju's words, Glenn pulled off the cloth from his mouth and said, "I am Glenn, and they are also Beth's family. These are Daryl, Rick, and Bob. And Beth's sister. They are still locked in the container. Let's rescue them now." After saying that, he first helped Yejuju untie the ropes of several people. Yejuju handed the Glock, which had never been used, to Rick, and gave him a 33-round magazine. Then he handed the shotgun on his back to Glenn, took off the bullet belt from his waist and stuffed it into Glenn's arms, and said, "Then what are you waiting for? Follow me and rush out to rescue Maggie and the others before those people." After saying that, he turned around and rushed out the door. Behind him, Jean Lang also rushed in front of Yejuju, taking on the role of vanguard. Behind them, to be honest, the four of them were still a little dazed. Just when the four of them were about to be killed, Yejuju appeared like a god descending from the earth, killing the two executioners cleanly and scaring away the leader Gray. Not to mention Yejuju's ability to dodge bullets. What about that big metal dog? Fortunately, Glenn was worried about Maggie, Rick was worried about Carl, Bob was worried about Sasha, and Daryl blamed himself. They didn't waste any time and hurriedly followed Yejuju and rushed out of the door. At this time, Gray had already used the walkie-talkie to notify the people who were still alive that he would launch a siege on Yejuju and others. From the feedback from the walkie-talkie, he knew that there were already a dozen fewer people in the base, which could not help but put a ferocious expression on Gray's handsome face. You must know that the few people who cannot be contacted are the real combat forces in the base. Although those women are also combatants, they are still a little bit uninteresting. Suddenly there were more than a dozen people missing, which made him so angry that he wanted to summon people immediately to kill Yejuju and others who had ruined his good deeds. Of course, although Gray has a twisted mentality, he is still a smart man. Yejuju is too powerful. He knows that it is obviously not possible to deal with such a person alone. He plans to gather everyone together and slowly surround and kill Yejuju and others. Although Gray informed in time, several people were still far behind. They were discovered and killed by Yejuju. Naturally, Yejuju gave the guns to Glenn and other people with good marksmanship for use. For example, Maggie, Abraham, Rosita, Sasha, and a few others. The 5 of them fought their way back to the container where everyone was imprisoned, and rescued everyone. The guns were distributed one by one. Yejuju asked them to form a team while he hunted these cannibal demons alone. It's not that Yejuju doesn't trust them, but that Yejuju plans to use a mechanical trap. To be honest, he hasn't used this thing before, and he doesn't even know what it will be like, so naturally he doesn't want Glenn and the others to know about it. Saying goodbye to everyone, Yejuju and Jean Lang used the cover of the container to sneak towards Gray and others. Finally, Gray and others were found near the weapons warehouse. At this time, outside the warehouse, Gray and the remaining dozens of people were gathered here, fully armed. Yejuju looked at the surrounding terrain and had some concerns in his heart. It's easy to handle, including harassment, mechanical traps, sneak attacks, and defeating them one by one. Taking advantage of Gray's dark face while he was speaking, Yejuju suddenly rushed out from the gap of the container and started shooting without saying a word. The crossbow arrows shot out 3 arrows in a row, hitting the back of the heads of the 3 people who were facing away from him. 2 of them were men and 1 was a woman. The sound of the crossbow arrows breaking through the air immediately startled Gray. Seeing the crossbow arrows shot into the back of the heads of 3 companions, Gray immediately screamed wildly and shouted, "That damn bastard is behind, kill him." After saying that, he raised his rifle and rushed towards Yejuju. Seeing that he had killed 3 people, Yejuju immediately retreated and placed the first mechanical trap in the gap between the containers. However, Warwolf hid himself and sneaked behind Gray and others according to the order given to him by Yejuju to kill the lagging people. Gray was really lucky. He was the first to chase, but he fell in the middle inexplicably. When the first few people rushed to the gap between the containers, they triggered the mechanical trap. A magical scene happened. The triggered mechanical trap slammed into the air with a buzzing sound. Then, after a short mechanical sound, dense arrows and steel balls burst out in the surroundings. Fortunately, this was in the gap between the containers. The lethality of the arrows and steel balls was greatly reduced. Only the 5 people in front were shot into hedgehogs and honeycombs by arrows and steel balls. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, De Chuan-Chi. Chapter 17. These 5 people died on the ground without even a groan, which made the people who followed them shudder and then became furious. Some people didn't even see Yejuju's shadow and started shooting randomly. At this time, the Warwolf also launched an attack, rushing out from behind the crowd, biting one person to death with 1 pounce, and then slapped one person to death with 2 claws, and then the tail rolled back and stabbed 3 people in succession. The remaining 20 people found the sneak attack of the Warwolf. Seeing this strange metal dog killed 6 people in an instant, everyone couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. It was really terrible. What is this thing? It's much more terrible than those zombies. Fortunately, these people are all ruthless. Although they are afraid in their hearts, they still picked up their guns and shot at the Warwolf. The Warwolf is not a stupid dog. If it stays where it is and is shot, even if the bullet does not break the defense, it will be injured if it hits the joints. After killing 6 people, when everyone was shooting, it quickly retreated to hide behind the container. Yejuju was also very cunning. After the wolf warrior attracted their attention, he also flashed out from behind the container and fired a burst of arrows with a mechanical crossbow. 5 arrows were shot out in succession, and 5 more people were shot down at once. Now Gray only had a dozen people left. So many people were killed by the front and back attacks. To be honest, Gray was afraid. He had never met such a powerful person. Even those who were occupied by those people, beaten, tortured, humiliated, and even killed them were just relying on their numbers. The real combat power was not much stronger, otherwise he would not have been killed by his own people. Today, he finally saw a person who was as powerful as the protagonist of the movie. He really couldn't do anything with Yejuju. Fighting, Dozens of people couldn't beat him, and now more than a dozen people are even less of an opponent. Escape, he didn't have the confidence to escape Yejuju's pursuit. The person was powerful, but he really couldn't think of a way to deal with that big metal dog. Although, for a metal creature like the wolf warrior, the best way is to use explosives to blow its body apart. But one thing must be understood, the wolf warrior is not a dead thing, and its flexibility is obvious to everyone. There is no way, with enemies in front and behind, Grace can only divide his manpower into two parts to defend against the sneak attacks of Yejuju and wolf warrior. His purpose is very clear: since I am not Yejuju's opponent, I can always retreat. Retreat to the warehouse and defend from a high position. He doesn't believe it. No matter how powerful the metal dog is, it can still jump 7 or 8 meters high. As for the fear that the metal dog will break in, it will be enough to install a few bombs on the door. At worst, they will die together. In fact, his idea is correct. In order to complete the task, Yejuju will naturally not let them go. He looked at the progress of the task completion, killing the leader Grace, 0/1, and his accomplices, 36/61. There is only one small boss and 15 minions left to complete the task, so there is no need to hesitate. Let Warwolf harass them first, and then the driver will kill them. He wanted to continue using the mechanical trap, but the timing was wrong. You know, the reason why the trap is called a trap is that it is unexpected. The other party obviously stopped chasing and had no chance to set the trap. The next moment, Warwolf jumped down from a container and killed one person, which attracted the firepower of the crowd. Warwolf also reacted quickly and dodged left and right in the open space, avoiding most of the bullets. Although a few bullets could not be avoided, the bullets hit the all-metal body, but only caused countless cremations. At this point, Yejuju finally put his mind at ease. He originally thought that the defense of the metal parts synthesized by space smelting would not be too abnormal, but he didn't expect that it would be as abnormal as Tony's iron suit. What is there to hesitate about? Yejuju immediately gave Warwolf an order through consciousness to try to avoid bullets and kill the enemy. The next moment, Warwolf did not jump back to dodge, but turned around and rushed towards Grace and others. Seeing that Warwolf attacked back in an uncharacteristic way, Grace and others were immediately frightened out of their wits. Those with slightly worse psychological quality had already screamed and pulled the trigger, shooting recklessly. Seeing that everyone's attention was attracted by Warwolf, Yejuju also came out from behind. He was more than 20 meters away and had already replaced the steel ball bullets. He picked up the mechanical crossbow and started shooting continuously. At this moment, the precise shooting that had been trained for a long time to kill zombies played a powerful role. The sound of steel ball bullets breaking through the air sounded one after another. 5 people were shot and killed by Yejuju one after another. Those who were unlucky were also hit in the back by bullets and fell to the ground and could not move. For this kind of man-eating guy, Yejuju had no intention of holding back. Under the pincer attack of Yejuju and Warwolf, Gray's man-eating gang fell to the ground and died one after another. In the end, only Gray was left, who was pounced on the ground by the wolf warrior and his limbs were pressed tightly to the ground and unable to move. Yejuju walked up, half crouched on the ground, looked at Gray with a pale face and said, "I sympathize with your experience at the beginning, but this is not an excuse for you to kill innocent people and even eat human flesh. Go to hell and repent." After saying that, Yejuju took out the dog-leg knife and stabbed it into Grace's head, ending his sinful life. With Gray's death, the system sounded again. Congratulations to the host for completing Mission 3, killing the cannibal leader Grace and his accomplices, Leader Grace, 1/1, Accomplice, 61/61. Completing the mission will reward 1000 experience points. Tip: the host's level has been upgraded. The current level is level 6. 5 attribute points have been obtained, which have been automatically allocated to the attribute panel. Please check the details by yourself. The experience has increased by 1000, and the level has been upgraded again. Yejuju has no interest in checking the panel information. Instead, he put all the guns and ammunition scattered on the ground into the space, and walked towards the warehouse of Gray and others. He saw from the show that there are many good things in Gray's warehouse. Not to mention the guns and ammunition, the key is that there are also many watches, gold and diamond jewelry, etc. These things can be brought back to his own world, but they can be exchanged for a lot of rice and gold. Yejuju has a feeling that just collecting metals from other worlds may not meet his future mechanical manufacturing and modification requirements. And as far as he knows, the best metal is the metal in the Marvel world. I won't talk about adamantium, which is stored in SHIELD and is hard to get. Vibranium is okay, but you have to buy it from Wakanda. Carbona, although not the hardest metal, has the characteristic of inhibiting the healing factor. Yejuju thinks that having such a weapon may play a big role in other worlds. U metal, this thing is awesome and needs no explanation. It is unique to Asgard, so just think about it. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan. Chapter 18. The easiest thing to get is vibranium, and carbona can be synthesized as long as you find the right person. Google search reading. Thinking about his own things, Yejuju put all the valuable items in the warehouse into the space. He left enough weapons and supplies for Rick and others to use. At this time, Rick and others were fighting with the zombies outside the barbed wire. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. It was because the gunshots attracted more zombies to attack the barbed wire, and thousands of zombies surrounded them. Yejuju waited for a long time, but did not see Rick and others coming. When he heard the gunshots outside, he roughly understood what was going on. He did not wait any longer, put down the mechanical crossbow, replaced it with a rifle, and walked out quickly to the outside of the barbed wire. But the dense zombies surrounded the barbed wire, and Rick and others were shooting at the zombies to prevent them from pushing the barbed wire and swarming in. Seeing this, Yejuju was just what he wanted. Once so many zombies were killed, Hidden Mission 3 might be completed, and then the mount he wanted most could be manufactured and modified. While walking forward to shoot, he said to Rick and others, "I have killed those people. There are many weapons in their warehouse. Before the zombies rush in, you go get the weapons first, and I will guard here." After hearing Yejuju's words, everyone stopped shooting, and all looked back in shock at Yejuju, who looked calm. Daryl was still eager to get his crossbow back, and hurriedly called everyone to run to the warehouse. After everyone left, Yejuju shot and killed the zombies, while thinking in his mind how to kill 10,000 zombies. The best way is to use mechanical traps. As long as they are used well, they can still do it. Thinking of this, Yejuju saw an oil tank outside the wire mesh, and thought of Carol in the play using fireworks to ignite the oil tank, which not only blew up the wire mesh, but also burned many zombies to death. Yejuju had a plan in mind, and fire attack was also a good way. What he was most worried about was the zombies killed by Rick and others. He hoped that so many zombies were killed by himself. Having made up his mind, Yejuju shot and retreated. When he retreated to a container 300 meters away, Yejuju aimed at the oil tank with a move of the muzzle. The next moment, the trigger was pulled, and the bullets shot out of the barrel. Several bullets made holes in the oil tank. The fuel quickly flowed to the ground, and then quickly spread to more than 10 meters around. Many zombies were within the range of the fuel. After waiting patiently for a while, the fuel flowed into the wire mesh and flowed onto the concrete floor. Yejuju then aimed at the concrete floor soaked by the fuel and fired continuously. Finally, a bullet struck a spark on the ground, igniting the fuel on the ground. The fire spread rapidly with a whoosh and burned to the oil tank. The next second, the oil tank exploded violently with a boom. A huge fireball swept out to the surrounding area of dozens of meters, engulfing hundreds of zombies in the flames. Coupled with the shockwave generated by the explosion, all the zombies around were swept into the air, and then torn into pieces. More zombies were ignited by the fuel, and they rushed towards the barbed wire with flames all over their bodies. The barbed wire was also pushed to a large area by the explosion. The zombies in front died, and the zombies behind stepped on the flames and entered the barbed wire. Yejuju immediately flashed out from behind the container, set a trap on the ground, and used the cover of the container to start shooting the scattered zombies that had already entered. Yejuju didn't want his trap to be triggered by a few zombies alone, otherwise it would be a waste of one of his traps. Soon, the first few zombies were shot dead, and more zombies surrounded them. The sound of gunfire was the biggest factor that attracted them. At this time, Rick and his team had just come out of the warehouse. Everyone was fully armed, with rifles, shotguns, and pistols. Even Mikon carried a samurai sword on her back and held a rifle in her hand. Everyone naturally heard the explosion outside. The next moment, everyone's face changed, and they were all worried that the zombies had rushed in. They lined up in battle formations and rushed to the previous place. Almost 100 zombies had surrounded them, and the leading zombie triggered the trap. The trap hummed and shot into the air, and countless arrows and steel balls shot out in a radius of 20 meters around. In Yejuju's eyes, at least hundreds of zombies were shot in the head, and they fell down in a row like cutting wheat. Yejuju couldn't help but feel proud and amazed, secretly thinking that the power of this trap was really great. Warwolf was also killing zombies on the other side. Although his killing speed could not catch up with the trap, it was not slower than Yejuju's shooting with bullets, and even slightly faster. After all, Warwolf was made of metal, and all the zombies had no interest in it, so there was no need to dodge. In just a moment, Yejuju had killed as many as 500 zombies, and the task progress had reached 825/10,000. Taking advantage of the gap when the zombies were cleared, Yejuju flashed out again, took back the empty trap, and placed a new trap on the ground. Continue to shoot zombies to attract more zombies. When Rick and the others arrived, they saw the corpses of zombies all over the ground. This scene shocked and speechless everyone. They never thought that someone would kill so many zombies alone. There were at least hundreds of corpses on the ground. They all had a common thought in their minds, that is, how did this Ye do it? Is he Rambo? Can he fight 1,000 people alone? There was no time to explain in detail. Yejuju said loudly while shooting. There is a trap I set up in front of you. The killing range radius is 30 meters. Pay attention to finding a good cover to hide. When the zombies are almost killed, rush out to meet Beth, Carol, Tyrese, and Judith. Hearing Yejuju's words, everyone was amazed at the power of the trap that Yejuju mentioned, and then reacted and knew that Judith was still alive, and they were so happy that they almost jumped up. Especially Rick and Carl, they are Judith's relatives. Knowing that this little child is still alive, the two of them almost cried with joy. When the trap was launched into the air again and killed all the zombies within 20 meters, everyone realized how powerful and terrifying the trap Yejuju was talking about was. When everyone saw that Warwolf, a metal dog, killed more zombies than all of them combined, they chose to remain silent. They had to remain silent because Yejuju was too strong and too weird. Strictly speaking, neither Yejuju's metal dog nor the powerful trap were anything they were familiar with. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Chuan-Chi. Chapter 19. They just felt that this Chinese named Ye was too mysterious. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. Google search reading. But Yejuju was still a little dissatisfied. What he was dissatisfied with was that the triggering method of the trap was too simple. It would be great if you could be invisible and remotely controlled. Everyone joined the battle in silence, and a safe passage to the outside world was quickly cleared. At this time, Yejuju had to stop his plan to stay here and kill the walking zombies. It was not because these people were too weak compared to him. If he was not careful, someone would be bitten or killed by the walking zombies. Don't forget, among these people are Beth's sister Maggie and brother-in-law Glenn. If anything happens to these two people, it's really hard for Beth to explain. In fact, the life and death of these people is really not important to Yejuju. As long as it is not related to the mission, anyone can be abandoned, even if he is the protagonist of this world. However, Beth was her woman after all, even if it was only temporarily. Yejuju can't be so ruthless and cruel. Isn't a good ending something that everyone likes to see? As for the fact that the task has not been completed yet, there is really no rush. After all, 10,000 walking corpses are not 10,000 ants. You can kill enough if you say you can. Besides, Wolf Warrior has been fighting continuously for almost an hour. If it is not recharged, it will die among the walking corpses. By then, even if Yejuju has extraordinary abilities, he will not be able to escape from the walking corpses. Brought out the Wolf Warriors. Although the Wolf Warrior was lost, it could still be made, but people all have feelings. After all, it was his first mechanical pet, and Yejuju still cared about the Wolf Warrior very much. Thinking of this, Yejuju no longer hesitated, and immediately called the wolf to come back to him. First, he recharged the wolf, and second, he took Beth's family out of the base. After Yejuju recharged the Wolf Warrior, everyone followed Yejuju and fought their way out of the base to meet up with Beth and others. Unexpectedly, when these people met, the system beeped unexpectedly. Congratulations to the host, for completing the hidden mission in the plot and rescuing Rick and others. Gained 500 experience points. Tips: the host level has been improved. The current level is 7. Gained 5 attribute points which have been automatically assigned to the attribute panel. Please check the host for details. To be honest, Yejuju was very happy when he heard the sound of the system. He was not only happy for completing the hidden task, but also happy to see Beth hugging Maggie, Glenn, Rick, and others happily. Yejuju also knew that he could not stay in this world for too long. After a year, he would leave this world whether he wanted to or not, so he could not bear to leave Beth alone in this world. It is better to help her keep as many relatives and friends as possible with her, so that she will not be too lonely after she leaves. After everyone finished greetings, Yejuju interrupted everyone's hug and said, "Hey! Guys, should we leave here first, find a safe place, and let you feel better?" After hearing this, everyone's expressions froze. Although they all secretly criticized Yejuju for being unreasonable, no one opposed him. After all, what Yejuju said is true. Didn't you see that there are many walking corpses in the base below? This is really not a gentle place for everyone. As the leader of the team, Rick took the lead in reaching out to Yejuju to express his gratitude. Then came Maggie. As a sister, he was naturally very grateful to Yejuju for saving Beth's life and bringing Beth back to her. After that, everyone walked deeper into the forest while discussing their future plans. Listening to these people's pessimistic thoughts, Yejuju was speechless. He wanted to tell these people that someone was already interested in them, and it was a very enjoyable place for them. Although Yejuju didn't notice anyone peeping around, he knew that Aaron from Alexander Manor was watching them from a distance. Yejuju has his own plan. After sending all these people safely to Alexander Manor, he will leave alone to kill the walking zombies to complete the mission, and also collect more metals and valuables so that he can make a big deal with Vakan when he returns. After walking for more than half an hour, I inevitably met the Black Priest, Gabriel, who was blocked by a walking corpse on a big rock. After everyone rescued him, they returned to Gabriel's church together. With Yejuju's participation, no one cared about Gabriel's unusualness. There was no extra food for everyone to consume. They just rested here for a night and left the church. Gabriel, the priest, also joined the team after Yejuju put in good words. On the way, Abilahan proposed that he would take everyone to Washington, but he was stopped by Yejuju in public and said, "No, we won't go. There is no safe base or scientific research team in what you call Washington." After saying that, Yejuju grabbed you out and said, "Okay, Mr. Liar. Can you tell them the truth? I don't want to send you thousands of miles to some bullshit Washington. If you don't tell the truth, I will kill you mercilessly. You. Do you understand, Mr. Eugene the Liar?" After saying that, Yejuju had already pulled out the dog-leg knife on the side of his thigh and placed it on Eugene's neck. At this moment, Eugene had never felt that death was so close to him. He was scared, especially Yejuju, a mysterious and inhumanly strong Chinese boy. But the combat power was terrifyingly strong, and coupled with Yejuju's technologically advanced mechanical dog, he believed that no 1% could be Yejuju's opponent. Besides, after meeting Rick and others, he didn't want to continue heading to the illusory Washington. Therefore, when he was threatened and caught by Yejuju, he did not struggle, but he just didn't know how to tell the truth. Abraham suddenly became angry when he saw that Yejuju had controlled Eugene. When he thought about it, he should have died long ago, and if it hadn't been for what Eugene said, he wouldn't have been able to continue living. Escorting Eugene to Washington to save the world was the only support for his survival. He would not allow Yejuju to expose Eugene so easily. The next moment, Abraham roared angrily, "Let go of Eugene, you damn Asian monkey, I won't allow you to hurt him." As he spoke, Abraham strode towards Yejuju. Fortunately, he still had sense and did not point a gun at Yejuju. Obviously he did not want to repay kindness with enmity, so he shot Yejuju to death. Of course, Yejuju is not afraid that Abraham will shoot him. Not to mention that he is sure to put Eugene in front of him to block the bullet before he shoots. Even the wolf warrior will not let him shoot easily. Across the Heavens, Marvel's Mechanical Hunter. Author, Dachuan Chi. Chapter 20. Sure enough, the next moment Abraham, who rushed towards Yejuju angrily, was jumped from the side by Warwolf, and he was thrown to the ground by Warwolf just after he met him. The force of 1,000 kilograms was not something he, a human, could resist. His limbs were pressed to the ground by Jean Lang's limbs. He could only open his mouth in vain and curse Yejuju and Jean Lang. Let me go if you can, let me go one-on-one with you, an Asian monkey, and see if I don't knock out all your teeth and let the cows eat them. You damn Asian monkey. And you piece of shit. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow circled M. Among everyone, Rick and others were dubious, but Carol and Beth completely believed in Yejuju. After all, Yejuju had no need to deceive everyone. What's more, except for Carol and the other four, everyone was rescued by Yejuju, right? Rosita was completely stunned. She wanted to save Abraham, but subconsciously she was more willing to believe what Yejuju said. Eugene was indeed not trusted by her that much. If her lover Abraham hadn't always believed in Eugene, she wouldn't have followed Abraham to escort Eugene to Washington. Along the way, there were quite a few people in their original team, but they all died trying to protect Eugene. She actually didn't want to go to that bullshit Washington. Eugene saw that no one stood up to speak for him except for the big man Abraham, and he understood that he couldn't get away with it today, so he gave up and said helplessly, Okay. I'll tell the truth." After speaking, he signaled Yejuju to take away the knife. Seeing this, Yejuju took back the knife and asked Eugene to tell the truth. Eugene looked around at everyone present. Except for Abraham, who continued to shout, Everyone was silent. Then Eugene continued. Actually, I'm not a scientist. I'm just an otaku who likes a little bit of everything. The reason why I want to trick everyone into going to Washington is just to survive. You also know how much a person like me, who has no courage or fighting ability, needs someone to protect me. And Washington is the capital of the entire United States. I think we can only be safe when we get there, right? I did this for everyone's benefit. I just didn't expect that this journey would be so difficult. So many people died before I even made it halfway. To be honest, I don't want to go to Washington anymore. Please forgive me. After all, my starting point is good, okay. After speaking, Eugene bowed and saluted everyone present, especially Abraham and Rosita, and even lowered his head to the ground. Obviously, he felt much more guilty about these two. After all, Rosita's team members died because of him. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. After hearing Eugene tell the truth, everyone knew that it was impossible to go to Washington, and everyone no longer had a goal, and they all became hesitant for a while. Rosita and Abraham were so desperate that they almost suffocated. Abraham, who was still struggling a moment ago, was like a bear that had been drained of its strength. He allowed the wolf to press him to the ground, but his eyes were dull through the wolf's head. Looking at the sky and muttering something. Rosita was stunned at first, then shook her head in disbelief, and then tears rolled down her eyes. She felt unworthy for herself, unworthy for Abraham, and even more unworthy for the dead team members. The next moment, Rosita's mood collapsed. She raised her hand to shoot Eugene, who had been bending down and bowing his head. However, Yejuju reacted quickly and burst out at a speed of 17 meters per second, killing Rosita before she could shoot her. The muzzle of the gun was raised. And at lightning speed, he removed Rosita's weapon and said in a deep voice. Just like what he said, although he deceived you, his starting point was good, he just wanted to go to Washington. You can think about it, if you can really get there safely, it might be better than now some aren't. The only thing he didn't consider was that he didn't know how many zombies there would be on the way from here to Washington, and it was impossible for us to get there safely. The reason why I expose his lies is just to hope that everyone can calm down and think about their future. After saying that, Yejuju shook his head at Warwolf again, motioned to let Abraham go, and then said, Warwolf, go and escort the people hiding outside to me. After saying that, with everyone's puzzled expressions, Yejuju looked into the distance and said loudly, Hey! Friends, I know you are there, and I know you have no ill intentions towards us. But you keep following us like this, but don't come out to meet us. Doesn't it seem unfriendly? I'll ask my pet to ask you to come out. It's best to follow it here honestly, otherwise I can't guarantee that you can leave here alive. I can guarantee that as long as you come here honestly, I will promise to ensure your safety. I also ask these two gentlemen to cooperate. These words immediately put everyone on alert. Even the sad Rosita ignored the tears that had not been wiped off her face and was ready to fight at any time. Among the people present, only Yejuju and Abraham looked indifferent. The only difference is that Yejuju is really not afraid at all, while Abraham has fallen into a state of autism. After all, the ideal that he has been supporting him has been shattered. On the other side, Aaron and Sam were more panicked than ever, because they knew how scary the metal dog was. They wanted to run away, but after hearing Yejuju's shout, they didn't dare to run anymore. After all, no matter how fast they moved, they couldn't outrun the metal dog that was as fast as a shadow. In addition, Aaron's investigation of Rick and others was almost done, and he originally planned to find a time to contact Rick and others. But they didn't expect that someone like Yejuju would show up, which exposed the two of them. But since Yejuju proposed to meet in person, Aaron waited honestly with Sam. Not long after, everyone saw two men who were unbelievably clean coming under the escort of Warwolf. From a distance, the two raised their hands, and Aaron, who was in the lead, said, "Hi. Hello everyone, we have no ill intentions. My name is Aaron, and the one behind me is my friend Sam. As this gentleman said, the purpose of our coming here is to invite you to our base. Please give me a little time, I will introduce the situation of our base to everyone." Hearing this, everyone was stunned, with strong suspicion and disbelief in their eyes, but Yejuju said, "Warwolf and I have discovered you a long time ago. Since we came here, you have been hiding nearby. You said you are here to recruit them, so show your sincerity."